welcome to Uncut with Gina and Sukhdev. This is an opportunity for each of you to see what coaching can do for you. And we're very, very pleased to welcome our first guest, which is Paul. Thank you very much for joining us today and joining us on this journey of discovery. It's an opportunity for you to have the expertise of two of us. You get us in stereo. And so I'd like to ask you the question, what would you like to get out of today?
I would like to get out of today a little bit of clarity where my life is going. Certainly, I can use the rear view mirror myself, but I would like to have the full screen of the window shield to see where the path is going next.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Do you have any sense that, well, if I asked you what the dream was, do you have a sense of what that might be?
Absolutely.
Do you want to share it with us?
Certainly. I'm in the process of completing a book. The book is called No More Altered Boys, and it's an autobiographical memoir of myself having suffered sexual abuse at the hands of my uncle, who happened to be a Roman Catholic priest.
That must have been incredibly difficult.
It has been a lifelong journey. I was 15 when it started, and every aspect of my life has had pieces of that mosaic to make up the picture that you see today.
Can I ask you, this is obviously a very sensitive subject, but my sense check is it's amazing that you're sharing it, because I think so many people stay quiet and stay within that victimness of feeling that they have to be ashamed of it, when actually it's not what they're doing. So let me ask you, what's the purpose of the book? Because there could be any number of whys as to why this book is important to you.
So the purpose for me is one direction, and that direction is to expose what my uncle did to our family. My uncle abused myself, my brother, and one of my cousins. He currently has had a school named after him here in Brampton, Ontario. And I've just finished a letter to the Brampton School Board requesting that they rename that school immediately and do it quickly, because my book is coming out in early 2021.
Okay. Is your uncle still alive?
No, he has been dead for about 25 years.
And in terms of this abuse, how widely known has it been before your book?
Well, my family know all about it, but in communities around the world, this type of event was always a secret. It was a lie. So my aunts, my two aunts, and my sister were on the stage when they consecrated the school. No one told me, I was living at the time in British Columbia, no one told me there was a school to be named after him, because they knew I would have objected. So things are a bit different. I'm back in Toronto, and I'm ready to right that wrong.
Can I ask you, have you been able to forgive him?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because if I have forgiven him, but if I hadn't forgiven him, he would have still had his clutches in me.
Absolutely.
So yes, I have forgiven him, but I don't want people to forget.
And I think that's a really good point, that forgiveness is not about either condoning or forgetting. I think that's really important for people who are listening. And perhaps to reiterate, you know this at a head level, at an intellectual level.
That's correct.
But I think for many, and I've worked with a number of abused people, and there's a significant difference between accepting it intellectually and actually accepting it at a heart level and truly letting go.
Absolutely correct. The letting go is difficult because there are lots of triggers. As I was growing up, every male-male encounter was questionable. Uh, I had much difficulty in the area of sports or personal development when it came to physical fitness, because the question of the intimacy of the sport or whatever, where is that boundary? Is it fluid? And along the way, Gina and Sukhdev, in my path, so I have a number of people in my life, and I'll use two examples if I might.
Mm-hmm.
One was an internationally known physical fitness trainer, former Army individual. He made a documentary. He's a motivational speaker. When I went to see him, he was doing CrossFit. So he said, let's have a bit of an intake. We did the intake, and I said, he said, well, I could recommend this person. I said, no, I'm uncomfortable in group settings told him of the abuse. And he then puts his pen down and says, I think we're gonna get along just fine. The identical thing happened to me, except he wasn't a priest. Another friend, longtime friend, so his picture is Harley Davidson rider, former military, two loving daughters, very much the family man dominant. One night over dinner, asked about the book, I mention it, he says, I need to tell you something. My mother couldn't look after me for a time when I was growing up, and he went to 5 different foster homes. In every foster home, he was sexually abused. So the interesting thing for me is when you're dealing with it on a personal level, you often think you're the only one.
I think
We
that's
now know, of course, I mean, historically, that this abuse piece is throughout the Catholic Church all over the world.
Mm.
But then the trickle down effect is that it is in other segments of society. And the issue is when you tell someone, no one believes you. The coach wouldn't do that. Your uncle, impossible. So it's who believes whom?
Mm.
That's the question of the victim, because you can't tell anybody because you're afraid they won't believe you. I mean, there are statistics, but living it is one thing.
Inevitably, abusers will often look for opportunities where they are in positions of authority, positions of status, that they are maybe pillars of the church, pillars of society, whatever. And that, I think, has made it very difficult. But if I may, I want to take you back to where we started.
Yeah.
You wanted some clarity about your way forward. Now,
Right.
The book is obviously part of that, and part of your journey around dealing with the abuse for yourself and helping other people recognize that they're not on their own. So my question, and then I'm going to invite Sukhdevs because I'm rather hogging this, but my question to you is, once you've written the book,
I'm sorry?
once you've written the book and the book is out there, is that, and I don't mean is that it and that's the rest of your life, but in terms of, is that, do you think, going to be able to give you some real sense that you can now move on?
So Gina, the book is not written in anger. It's taken me...
That comes across very clearly.
Okay.
Very clearly, okay?
Thanks.
Nothing further from the truth in terms of the energy that comes from you as how you are presenting writing the book.
Thank you. So, and in it are steps to help the church and other organizations deal with this type of systemic problem. At one point, there is a 100-question ordination quiz that candidates should be given to see if, in fact, they don't possess that latent need to have sex with young men and young boys. Also, the book will be, upon release, translated into Spanish, because Spanish is the second most read language in the world, and Spanish is the language of the current Pope, who is from Argentina. So hopefully there is some connection between this is what happened, this is the outflow, this is what could happen next. That's my hope.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I've just got one more question before I hand over to you. You published the book.
So it's in the process of being published.
Let's say you published the book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. And getting that to that place where it's in the public arena,
yeah,
and getting people to take it on board and truly engage with it are two very different things.
Absolutely correct. And
how are you going to move people from one to the other?
I've had some really wonderful mentors in the author arenas, all of whom happen to be women, 3 of whom are writing romance novels, one of whom is a tremendously successful author, and her books are translated in many languages, and it's like a money machine. And she said, the one thing you have to be aware of is the backlash that could easily come from public exposure.
Yes.
Because even in her world, and she uses a pseudonym for her work, and it's romance, it's fiction, she says she gets a lot of flack.
Well, I think there are 2 issues. One is that that you get a lot of flack, but there'd be some people would say to you, actually, any publicity is worth it because that sends a message. However, but then the other is that you get no reaction from the very people that you want to take it on board, and being prepared for the fact that the church will stonewall you.
Okay, except I believe at the moment there is currently I'll use the word universe, but there's a universal push to rebuild the structures that are not currently working in our social fabric.
Yeah, I would agree. How are you going to harness it?
And what?
How are you going to harness it?
Oh, I don't know. I do not know that.
Okay. Sukhdev, have you got some questions for Paul?
Yeah, I want to, thank Paul for sharing everything.
Absolutely.
For sharing this with us. The question that I now have is, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you to go from where you are now to the next step, where you want to be?
So the biggest challenge, I think, is getting the rough draft to final draft, finding a publisher. I have a publisher interested. My mentors say, no, that's the wrong one. So finding the right publisher who also can handle distribution. Pardon?
Self-publishing.
Yes, actually, my first book, I wrote another book. My first book was on business. I had teaching as my background and then business, and I wrote a book called Small Business Sucks, but It Doesn't Have to. It's quite funny. It's a bit of a how-to guide. I self-published that, and it was successful. It's out of print. And it's out of print because when you self-publish, you have to pay for the printing.
Not if you use Amazon Print on Demand.
Who?
Amazon Print on
Right.
Demand. Or
Well, so, right. And so my book was published in 2000.
Yeah.
So have I thought of it? Yes. But the people in this camp say, no, you need a publisher that can print the number of copies that you want to have in the market. So, and I'm not confident I know what the answer is.
Yeah. Okay.
How about you two? Any interested in publishing?
Well, I've got 5 books. I've done that through a sort of halfway house, through an organisation that will just they do all of the sorting out for you. You pay, but they do all of that. And then it's gone on to Amazon and all of the usual Kindle and
Right.
everything like that. And it's all print on demand.
Okay. Thanks.
And one, I can, after the show, I'll happily give you the address. The other thing is that I'll put you in touch with a lady that I actually met last night. And her work is all about taking authors and getting them book deals.
Oh.
So I will put you in touch with Jill after the show. I don't know her well. I just met her last night. But that's what she does, is she negotiates deals with publishers. And
so you see, the great unknown into which you're leading me is exactly where I need to be led.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So after this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead, go on.
So once we get you on track for publishing your books and that's all happening there, what do you see your life looking like? Where do you feel it going?
Right. Well, as you know, I've made a major life change moving from Vancouver Island to Toronto. And I grew up in Toronto. I had the start of my teaching career here. My son is here. I'm not sure where do I see myself. If you use the Indiana Jones approach and you're stepping out into the abyss, unknown or unsure of what's beneath you, the road appears. So I think I will continue the walk into the abyss and see where it takes me.
One of the things that strikes me, Paul, is that a big part of certainly the part of the journey of your life that you have shared with us today has been about sharing the story of your abuse and doing that in a way that can be of use to other people, to be of service.
Right.
And out of something that has been so awful, then comes the possibility of something really constructive and positive. One of the things that strikes me, and I call this a gut dump, okay? So I don't know if this is true, but when you have something that is so important, so very much part of the fabric of you, and then it gets to the point where it has its own life, if you know what I mean, you've launched it, that sometimes that sense of purpose becomes a bit fragmented and foggy. And so what else is there for you that really gives you a sense of purpose and passion and enthusiasm? Because I think one of the challenges for you will be when the book is launched and things are going, what's going to take that? Because that, I get a sense, there's a real drive in your life at the moment. What's going to give you that same sense of drive, but in a different way?
Good question. I'm unsure of the answer.
Okay.
It could be, it could be, I mean, in the macro sense, I would like to think that the current leadership in the Roman Catholic Church would search out those who could possibly help stop this, for lack of a, stop this item. I don't even know how to describe it. But if you have read recently, like, the book has got lots of research in it, and there is one aspect where this young priest, diocesan priest, called to Rome. He thrilled because from the seminary to go to Rome is every young priest's dream, to be part of the Vatican. Like, I mean, it's just huge. So here's what happened to him. He was given an assignment to go to the American Roman Catholic Church. And for 15 years, his only job was to listen to people saying the same story I told right now. And he was authorized to write checks up to $300,000 US. So first, it's like a barter system. First it's 100, first or 50, then 100, then 125, and the more and more, his level was $300,000. And at one point, after the 15 years, he's still a priest, but he said he had to quit the job, and he does not renunciate his priesthood, and he has another job out of the church. But he said, how many of these people are there? And then he started looking at them as not just case number 125 or whatever.
Yeah.
Looked at them as people and realized that in the wake of these stories were ruined lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a social dilemma.
It's a tragedy at a personal level. It's a travesty in terms of the very people who are supposed to be the model of loving.
Absolutely, you hit it right there.
But I'm going to come back and
Okay.
I'm going to push you, all right?
Okay.
Because again, this is obviously a huge. It's your life work. I understand that, but I just wonder for you what else there is in terms of your development, your growth that sits outside this, that can feed your sense of you and the fact that you have come this journey, and actually, despite everything that went on, that you're a successful, loving, caring, forgiving man.
Thanks. That's true. I have very close friendships that I've maintained all my life, both here in Ontario and certainly in British Columbia. I'm not sure I can remember what the question was. Can you give me the essence of your last question?
My essence of the question is, if we accept that you have survived the abuse and you have turned that round and you have made something positive out of that, if we took away that part of your purpose, what else is there?
I think me living as an example to others of how to deal with this type of personal tragedy that has all the aspects of shame, stigma. Oftentimes there were, the outflow of sexual abuse, male or female, has all of the things, suicide attempts. There's a million different things, not a million, there are several different things that come with the abuse, and how to overcome it. Perhaps my life story can be of some help to those who are currently in it. And I think, Gina and Sukhdev, one of the, an item that I find still so astonishing is it's still going on.
And
So
there are certainly signs in terms of the way in which children are abused and trafficked, that it's going on
yeah,
on a grand scale. Yes.
yeah, it's fascinating, really.
So if you, this may sound a little shallow, but it's to really give a sense. If you were to say that 10 out of 10 that you feel that really that you have dealt with and moved on, and that you are being able to live your full life now, 1 out of 10 is that you're totally still in the stage of being totally traumatized. Where do you think you are in your journey now?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the book wasn't written overnight. It's taken years to write it. And I have had so much support. A very close friend in Ottawa said, can't wait for the book to come out, and the outflow will be, and I think this could be correct, there will be some notoriety. I would like to be able to help the established church if they would let me in. My most authentic life could be now, and I think I'm close between an 8 and a 10.
So let me ask you, what would make the difference for you to, and this is about the internal work, because in a sense it's the only thing you have true control over, total control over. What do you think needs to happen for that to become from an 8 to a 10 consistently?
I need to commit to myself, and Sukhdev knows this because in my journey with him, this was one of our first conversations, commit to get the rough draft to final draft, which will take not days, but months. And then hopefully the other pieces will fall into place.
Okay.
So it's only a 1.5 difference.
Oh yeah, but you know, what do they say about 1.5 degrees? You know, is it
Yeah.
One temperature you can make tea and boil an egg, and another 1 degree and it's steam. So
right.
1 degree makes all the difference. And my challenge to you is, why wait those months?
Oh, I just know it's the process, Gina. I know it's the process. I mean, so the process looks like this: read, reread. There are several different versions of. Okay.
I'm going to stop you because you're talking about the book. I'm
Right.
talking about you.
Oh.
So what
okay.
needs to happen? Because you see, you could choose to be at that 10 whilst you're drafting and doing all of these things. That could happen if you allowed it to, if you gave yourself permission.
Well, I will give myself permission.
Yeah.
I will give myself permission to be consistent in my approach to daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't be moved off the path by whatever drama surrounds my family or formerly in British Columbia, my work, lots of drama around what was going on there. I've left that behind. And I'm grateful that I've left it behind. I have lots of wonderful memories. I've been here for a month, is a brand new start.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I'm just going to, I'm going to hand over to Sukhdev in a moment. But I just want to give you the challenge in. Let me give it to you in a different way. Often when people are, and I'm not suggesting that you're worried about things, but I want to use this example. When people, something happens and it feels like a mountain, one of the techniques that's very simple to use is to ask the question, you know, it's a mountain today. Will it be a mountain or a molehill tomorrow? Well, what about in a week? What about in a year? What about in 5 years or the end of your life? So if it's going to be downgraded into a molehill in time, why not choose to downgrade it now? in fact, what I'm asking you is, in a sense, the opposite, that you're an 8 now. Why not look to be at a 10 now and enjoy that 10ness, if you like, while you're doing all of these other things?
Excellent. That's a very good push.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because every day is so precious, and you know, we might as well live it our best life. And part of me thinks, you know, you have such an amazing thing to offer other people. How about offering them that model, that you don't have to wait in order to feel that you have overcome what's gone on in your life, that you can do it now?
Thank you. I'm greatly appreciative.
So, Sukhdev, I'm sorry, I've hogged the coaching chair.
Not at all.
It was good discovery. So thanks, Gina and Paul. And I guess a question I have for Paul is, what does a day in the life of Paul look like right now? Since you've been there for a month, it's been it's been like a fresh start for you. What does it look like? What's your day to day?
Well, okay, so that's a really interesting question. So my day-to-day stuff, there's parts of Paul that's still on British Columbia time. So I think I'm awake all the time. I get up, I'm living with a wonderful friend. We used to teach together. And so I get up, the day looks like this. I get up, I go swimming, make breakfast. I have for the past month been meeting family, people I haven't seen for years. And then my mind is sorting what I have to do with the project of the book. So I have all the stuff here. I'm ready to roll. I appreciate Gina's push to be a 10 out of 10. So I'm going to start that as soon as we're finished. And then I might go swimming again.
Okay, so there's a lot of exercise, and
there is.
No, that's good. That's good for you. So let's say we know you're focused on your book, and we know that the life I'm getting that the life you want to lead is to help others who have been in gone through the same struggles, situations, and things like that as yourself.
That's correct.
Yeah. So while you're pushing for the book and working on it, to get your mind towards that 10 out of 10, and I know you said you wanted to work with the church, if they would take you in as like maybe a coach to help others who have been in that situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what about creating like I know the name is a big thing with your uncle's name in that school.
Yes.
So what about creating something more positive from your name? Maybe Paul Thompson Center. So you can bring in other coaches who have been in the same situation as yourself, who can go out and not just do that in Ontario, but in British Columbia, Alberta, maybe even into the States, to help others, because we know it's a global issue. It's not just in one area or another area. It's quite a large thing. But I think by you taking lead on that and creating something that's so powerful to help others, so yeah, because it's a huge thing. I think that would be really helpful. And
I've never thought of that. Thank you.
It sounds to me there's two strands, aren't there? There's the one about helping the victims.
Yes.
Whether they were abused by somebody within the church or within another organization or by a member of the family. I think there's an extra something when it is the church, because they are supposed to be this huge example. But there's also then about how you get the church to change. And
right.
So for me, I can see those two separate strands. And again, using your idea, Sukhdev, about engaging people who have been in that process, part of their recovery, if they haven't recovered, may very well be about helping you create a groundswell that says, you can ignore me when I'm 1. You might be able to ignore me when I'm 5, but you can't ignore me when there's 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people saying it's time to do something. Your collective voice, if you're able to harness those people, your collective voice will have far more power than any one of you as an individual.
Right. Thank you very much. I actually never thought of that, but I think that's a brilliant idea.
And you can start to do that now while you are writing the book.
I can.
Can't you? Yeah.
I can do that right away.
Yeah.
Did you just think that up here's Suk, or how did that happen?
I listened to everything that was going on here, and since we had that meeting and we took our course together.
Yes.
In 2018, and that's where we were partnered together to coach one another, and which you've said really nice things in front of the school and for me, which was really nice. Thanks again.
I only told the truth.
Yeah, thank you. But just from the understanding, and I know how special you are and the impact that you can make and the passion you have behind everything that you're doing and the purpose that you have in life, it just came to me that, you know what, Paul is going to do something big. And I think with that mission of maybe, we were talking about the name of your uncle is, on the school right now, but what about taking your name and turning it into something even more powerful than that? And that's, it was sort of a, I don't know, artistic approach I got out of this or something, I don't know. But I know that you're destined for something amazing. So that's what it just popped into my head.
Thank you. I'm humbled by your comments.
Yes, thank you.
As we approach, we've got a few more minutes left.
Okay.
What, if anything, what are the areas that perhaps we've not touched upon? Things that you feel you would like to explore? Is there anything that you would like us to help you with?
Absolutely. Thank you. So my world has always been, watch this now, I'll use the word frenetic, because I'm always 4 or 5 moves ahead on the chessboard to make sure that I don't make a misstep verbally or miscue socially when it comes to male-male interaction. Mm-hmm. Or for such a long time, I was part of the keep the secret. So how do I come back to center and find some peace? Find some peace.
I'll go back to the question that I asked you before around the level of forgiveness. And
right.
And it seems to me that there are a number of, and it's a bit like an onion, you forgive, and then there's something, and then you forgive, and then there's something. But it seems to me that there's so many layers to this. There is your abuser, then there's the system which abused you because of not, even if you didn't tell them, it was because you didn't think you'd be believed, or you did tell them and you weren't believed. It's the family, but also it's forgiving you.
Right.
I've worked with so many people now who have been abused, and it's my view that the most important person to forgive is yourself.
Right. That's a harder one. It's a harder one.
Can I just say to you that, and please don't think I'm making light of this, I'm not.
No,
but
no.
I
have a great sense of humor too.
I've got a very few minutes, and I want to give you the best value out of this.
Okay.
But your belief that forgiving yourself is the harder one is a belief. You can change that belief. Okay? Somebody who has not only survived, but at a whole range of levels, thrived and made a great life despite what's gone on. You have a choice. You can choose for it to be difficult. You can choose for it not to be. Ultimately, you were the innocent victim in this, but you don't have to stay a victim anymore. And by not forgiving, that there's a little bit of you that stays in the victim.
Mm.
You've paid the price of somebody who should have protected you, not. But you said yourself that not forgiving them, I talk about if you don't forgive somebody, it's like giving yourself the poison, expecting the other person to die.
Right.
But the same is true when we don't forgive ourselves. It's about what's the lesson I can learn, and you've patently learned the lesson in terms of how can I use this to help other people. You have survived. You are obviously an amazing, I have not met you before today, but you're obviously a pretty amazing guy. When are you going to stop giving yourself a hard time? Because it isn't about what's going on outside. The answer lies within.
Well, I would like to say right now. But right now is, it's doable.
And I believe that, and the reason I'm pushing, it's people think it has to take a long time. They think it has to be difficult, but it's like that paradigm shift. It's the road to Damascus. In Paul, suddenly he believes one thing, and then in an instant he believes something else.
Right.
And that's how quick and how, I'll say easy, but I don't know how old you are, but it's taken all of these years since you were abused to get to this point. So,
Absolutely.
Why give it any more time?
I'm not going to.
Okay. So
thanks for the push.
The 10 out of 10. Because to get the peace, you have to forgive yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk about being frenetic. Time to be a human being and not a human doing. To spend some time to allow the freneticism to die down. And what I'd like you to do, I've got 2 or 3 little strategies I'd like to give you that I think would also be useful for listeners.
Okay.
Now, they may be things you're familiar with, okay? And if they are, remember, this is not just for you, this is for other people.
Yes.
I want you to collect gratitudes, okay? But I want you to do it in a very specific way.
Okay.
All right? You make it easy. So for me, my gratitudes start every morning with good plumbing, a hot shower, okay? I am so grateful for a hot shower, okay? And I clear my energy with the shower, all right? Anything that I want to get rid of, I just let it flow away and go down the plug hole and down into the earth, and I let it go. The natural world, a great place. So if I see beautiful flowers or the sun shining or rain on the window, I make it easy every time I see it. I choose to be grateful. A great cup of coffee, somebody phones you. And during the day, collect those gratitudes, because as you collect them, you have to be in the moment.
Right.
Don't you? You have to be really present to notice them. And then as you go to bed, as you try to get to sleep, jet lag or not, scan the day and choose your top 5.
Okay.
Okay. And over a period of just 3 or 4 weeks, that starts to recalibrate the brain. And to recalibrate the brain in the sense of it just shifts the needle in terms of recognizing that actually life is great, that there are so many blessings in our life. And I can remember as a kid being told to count my blessings. This is actually significantly different in the sense that you enjoy that moment when you are recognizing those things within your life. It is about becoming much more present. Okay, so that's strategy number 1.
Okay.
Strategy number 2, all right, and this is directly associated with your going to a 10 and forgiving yourself.
Okay.
Do you journal?
I have. I'm not consistent.
That's fine. What I want you to do over the next week is I want you to keep a list open.
Okay.
And on that list, I want you to write down all of the amazing things that you are capable of, that you have done, that you are. All right?
Okay. I will.
You're who you are, the essence of you. All right? And I want you to really own it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
And the third thing that I think you would find helpful to do, and you said you've got a great sense of humor. Yeah? Okay. You're dealing with stuff that it's big, it's heavy. So the counterbalance within your life is to look for opportunities to be playful, to be light, all right, to be joyful. Because the danger is that it becomes unbalanced.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm pretty playful.
That's great, but make an aware, a conscious decision how you deal with these things.
Okay.
To do that in that lighter way. And I think that then you get the energetic, the vibrational momentum that comes out of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you very much, Gina.
You're very welcome. Sukhdev.
Yes. So I'm gonna go into your how you get into your 5 moves ahead, like your chess game. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is continue to work on the book, and while you're working on the book, just come up with a name for your future. So
Okay.
about the Paul Thompson Center, for example, use that as an example. So Paul Thompson Center, what that's gonna look like, where you see what you can. I want you to think big. I'm gonna encourage you to think really big, and because I think that you have so much to offer. You have insight. You've written a book about your life, which is a really tough thing to do when you've been in this sort of situation. And I really think you're going to help a lot of people. So just with your book, you didn't keep it into yourself, like for yourself and whatever, and just struggle with the feelings. You opened it up and you're putting it out there. So I think with your mission in the world, I think that's what I'm going to ask you to do, is just think big, come up with a name, and take little action steps to see where the future is going, and live your 10 out of 10.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for being so open and sharing. I'd like to say thanks to Sukhdev. Sukhdev is the creator of an organization. Do you want to just spend a moment or two telling people about your organization?
Yeah, so Creative Discovery Group is a group of coaches and consultants. We're in 12 different countries, and the job of we know that there's a lot of when people get into coaching, there's a lot of struggles to get going, and we provide the platform to help them in their success, and basically we think really big, and we want others to accomplish more. Some of the things that we're doing is we're providing solar panels and batteries to Yemen during the war. They've been in a war since 2015, so we've been doing that. There's quite a few different things, but you can check it out at creativediscoverygroup.com.
Thank you. And I'm Gina Gardner, and my organisation is Genuinely You. And my work and the work of the people who are with me is all around personal empowerment and enlightened leadership. And in the new era that I think of consciousness that we're moving into, we need a very different sort of leader. So this is about people who lead with integrity, courage, and compassion. And if you're a business leader, actually want to be profitable too. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show. So thanks again. Bye bye now.